exercise. I want to invite you all to close your eyes, and if you're not comfortable with that, it's okay to just look down at the floor. And put one hand on your chest. Begin to notice that you're breathing. Become aware of just the simple fact that you're inhaling and exhaling. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. You may even feel your heartbeat. If your mind starts to wander, just gently bring it back to your breathing. Offer curiosity without any judgment. You can let your hand release and open your eyes. When I was preparing this talk, I asked a friend of mine if I should start with a meditation, and she looked at me and said, "Allison, you're a therapist and a yoga teacher. Of course you should start with meditation." So we'll get back to that though. I am a full-time clinical social worker. I'm a part-time yoga teacher and former high school art teacher. And today I want to talk to you about how we can recover from the painful experiences of feeling like we don't belong or being rejected. It might be experiences like getting all your application materials ready and turning it in, and then finding out that you don't get into the college you wanted to go to for the last 4 years. Or walking into a cafeteria of a new school and not having anyone to sit with. It can feel like everyone has friends except you. Or finding out that the person that you like doesn't have the same feelings for you. It can be finding out that your friends are all invited to a party except for you. Not making a team you try out for, or even getting hired at a job you really want. These experiences can be so painful and scary. They can stay with us for months or years. We can remember how we felt in our body. The reason they're so scary is because we're wired for connection. Our survival really does depend on it. Just like in those nature documentaries or Planet Earth, when there's an animal away from the herd or the pack, it's the most vulnerable to attack. So when we're in experiences where we feel excluded or left out or not wanted, it can feel that scary. Like we're in danger and threatened, even if we're not actually in danger. Our nervous system responds to try to get us to survive. Our fight, flight, and freeze system is activated. And what that looks like in day-to-day life can be so amped up that we can have trouble concentrating and focusing at work or school, or we can be so shut down, we don't want to get out of bed and just binge on Netflix. Or we avoid any circumstances where we can be rejected and really don't take any risk or put ourselves out there. Unfortunately, we can't avoid rejection, but we can recover from it. And to do that, we have to not only address our mind and thoughts, but we also have to look at our body and the part of our body that's trying to help us survive, the nervous system. The nervous system speaks the language of sensation. So just like we did in the beginning, where you notice your breathing, that's sensation. In those circumstances and situations where we're walking into a cafeteria and there's no place to sit, and everybody's staring at us, or we don't make a team, we can often have sensations like a tightening in our chest, upset stomach, a lump in our throat, a flushing in our cheeks, and shakiness in our hands. So, we'll wait for the next one. to the next slide. There we go. My assistant is helping me. A study in Finland found that every emotion we experience has a corresponding response in the body. Through all the cultures that they asked, it was consistent. So as you can see, anxiety and fear feel like tension and stress and activation in our chest, neck, and head. Depression and sadness can feel like a numbness or lack of sensation in our arms and legs. Anger is one of the few emotions that activates the arms, and happiness and love are full body experiences. So not all sensations are associated with scary or bad things. We have sensations when we see things like this. Analogical. Had a lot of fun researching these. Or like this. So take a moment to notice what you feel inside when you look at an image like this. I notice that I'm smiling, and I've noticed that my chest is a little less tight. My shoulders are a little more relaxed, and I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. And this isn't because they're the cutest animals you've ever seen. It's because most of us have a positive association with them. They look very relaxed. So the most important thing here, though, is that I notice how I feel inside, and then I notice how I can feel different. I notice that shift. And that gives me the opportunity to make a choice about what I focus on. And this is how I communicate with my nervous system, to let it know that I'm okay. And now, some of you may not be noticing anything at all, and that's okay. This is not something we normally do, and it takes practice. Also, a puppy and a kitten might not be your thing. I'm not here to judge if that's your thing or not. But it might be a really encouraging person in your life. It might be thinking of your favorite place to be, or a really cool trip you took. It could be a favorite song that when you listen to it, you feel really empowered. Or it could be a time when you felt really proud of yourself. These are called resources. And resources are the things, the people, the animals, the experiences that when we think of them, they give us that feeling inside of lightness and ease. And unfortunately, our brains are wired for negativity bias. So most of us are scanning the horizon for danger or threats. And so that means we have to spend a lot of extra time and energy focusing on how it feels when we think of one of our resources. It can also be challenging because we spend a lot of time up here or on our phones and not so much time checking in with how we feel inside. Also, rejection, feeling left out or not belonging, is incredibly painful. And so in those circumstances, it can be hard to think of a resource. It can even be hard to talk to somebody about it. And that's why it's really important to cultivate an inner resource. In my work as a therapist, I often see people come in and want to talk about relationships. When I go see my therapist, I want to talk about relationships. We're wired for connection, so we want to make those better. But it always comes back to our relationship with ourselves. The better and more connected we can be to ourselves, the more connected we can be to others. If I were to ask you to think of your best friends and ask you why you're friends with them, you may say things like, they're nice to me, I can trust them, they encourage me, if I make a mistake, they forgive me, they listen to me. This describes compassion. And self-compassion is being a good friend to ourselves. The more compassion I can offer myself, and the more of those things that I just listed I can offer myself, the more I can offer others. In her research, Dr. Brene Brown asked 8th graders what the difference is between fitting in and belonging, and they nailed the definition. They said, I get to be me if I belong, and I have to be like you to fit in. We're not always going to feel like we belong, but we can always belong to ourselves. And we can choose to believe that we're okay, even when others don't. This isn't about avoiding pain. It's about noticing what else is also true. It's noticing what that feels like in our body when we offer ourselves compassion, when we pay attention to what's there. We can't control others. We can't make anyone text us back. We can't make anyone like us, and we can't make any university see they're making a huge mistake by not accepting our application. But we can choose to notice what else is true. If we are able to connect with ourselves with curiosity and compassion, we will always have an inner resource. And if we want to be better able to deal with the disappointments that will happen and deal with the rejections that we all will face and have better relationships of all kinds, then we need to be able to connect with ourselves and the parts of our lives that are also true. Thank you.